All right, guys, want to start out just clarifying what do we mean by mountain living, right? Because you hear that term thrown around a lot out here. That could mean 25 minutes, west of downtown being in Golden. It could mean 2 hours out there in the mountains in Vail, Colorado. So really just different terms here meaning mountain living. We're going to cover all of it, but kind of starting out Golden and then progressing out further along the west side. Golden mountain living, for example, is going to feel more similar to the metro mountain living in the sense you will still have access to all those day-to-day essentials. So your Targets, your grocery stores, your gyms, all that fun stuff.
You also have easy access to like 6th Avenue or I-70. So definitely quick access if you're looking to get to those shopping locations and get within the nearest Denver metro to have access to get, all of your shopping done and things like that. So Golden is necessarily located in a more, I'd say, desirable area if you are looking to be
That's like the prime, best of both worlds, if you will. That's going to allow you access to what most of the metro is going to still have while being really as close as you can get to being in the mountains, if you will. And so that's kind of the nice balancing act. As you progress further out though, further and further into Golden, you're getting more of the pros of mountain living and just also more of the cons of mountain living. And so kind of jumping into that, first point to call out for you guys is when you live in the mountains, your day-to-day life, depending on what that looks like, is not going to be that easy. So I know when I first moved out here, I was dead set I wanted to live in the mountains. I was looking at Eagle, Colorado, actually, which is one of the exceptions. It does have a Costco, a little airport, so you can make it work. But what I came to realize was, my day-to-day life consists of, I don't do all my grocery shopping in one haul. I forget stuff all the time. I want to go to the gym, right? All of these things. And I'm like, man, I'm looking, Target's 45 minutes away from where I want to be at. The gyms are very limited. And so what that comes to be, it's just your day-to-day living is not going to look the same as it would in one of these true metro suburbias where, grocery shopping is 10 minutes away. You got your pick of 20 different gyms. You got your pick of a movie theater, all this different stuff, bunch of different restaurants, nightlife, all that fun stuff. That's not necessarily going to be the case out there in the mountains. So, I have friends who live outside of Vail, actually. And Vail is one of the more populated areas. And even for them, for the gym, for example, she goes to a hotel gym, it costs her $180 a month. And it's like, a couple treadmills, a little set of weights, not much. Versus me living in Littleton or Monique and Aurora, we go to Vasa, it's $20 a month, huge commercial gym. And so that's definitely one of the pros, if you will, for the metro side of things is the gym's a lot more accessible, a lot cheaper, just more optionality on that front.
One of the things though too to think about is if you're not necessarily, all into the gym, Joe.
Yeah, just throwing it out there as a day-to-day activity.
Go hiking and get your exercise in that way. So definitely that's one of the, on the opposite ends, being Miss Positive. Yeah. That's one of the opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Where maybe necessarily you're okay with having, an
your fitness is outdoors
gym.
now.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. You're okay with having, a gym in your home and then you go out and do hiking or do trail runs. That's something that's very popular here. One of the things too that I did want to call out as Joe's talking, about Eagle and like those further, mountain areas is you will more than likely want to be remote because job scarcity out there in terms of there's a lot of tourism. Obviously, if you're talking about Vail or Aspen or any of those areas, there's a lot of, hotel and tourism management options out there. But if you're looking more for if you're working in the financial sector or things like that, you would want to be remote because commuting to Denver is about a 2-hour commute. And one of the things that does happen is if it is snowy, CDOT does tend to close the roads. So it can definitely turn into a commuter nightmare. So something you definitely want to consider if you are thinking on living in the mountains.
Yeah, I don't think if you're going to live in the mountains, working in downtown Denver, probably not going to be your choice of work. It's just not going to work out for you. You will end up having to find something either remote, like Monique's saying, or something local to the mountains. And speaking on the job market out there, that's something we do tend to find. A lot of the people who, have lived in the mountains for years, they're now finding cost of living. It's getting harder and harder, obviously, because you're seeing the people with the remote jobs come in, buy up that real estate, be competitors to them now, where that never used to be the case. And so it is getting more and more difficult to work in the mountains in person and afford that standard of living. You're seeing, employers subsidize that living, whether it's, restaurants, the people at the ski resorts, they sometimes will subsidize housing for their employees. It's just the way it's turned into out there. So if job market is something you're thinking through and you're not remote, the mountains may not be the choice. The metro may be a better option just because there's such a plethora of jobs in the metro that don't really exist out there in the mountains. So one, we know fitness. Yep. Fitness is a big one for all of us, but jobs also very important. Getting into, grocery shopping and all your other day-to-day essentials, that again is going to be more limited in the mountains as opposed to in the metro. Like I said, everything's going to be probably 15 minutes or less. So just thinking that through, if you're okay with that, some people are okay with, hey, I go to the grocery store, once a week, I load everything up. I'm better than Joe about making sure I get everything on the list. I don't make lists, and it's a big problem. So I get away with it in the metro, but out there, that's not going to be the thing. So it's just, you have to think about through, what does your daily look like, and are you okay with making that maybe 30, 45-minute drive to a grocery store? So not to ding the mountains, but those are just the things we want to get there out, front and center for you guys to really consider. But getting into the pros now, the real fun stuff living in the mountains and why people want to live out there. The mountains do have a ton to offer. So not to, be bagging on them. In terms of the fun stuff out there, you're closer to all your outdoor recreation. So the same friends I'm discussing who live out by the Vail area, maybe they do drive 45 minutes to a Target, but they also drive 10 minutes to Vail Resort or Beaver Creek or whatever it may be. And so after you finish up that work day, you can squeeze in a couple runs in the ski resort versus in the metro, you're definitely not doing that. It's 2 hours each way. So if you're more focused on the outdoor activities and you're not so worried about restaurants, grocery shopping and all that stuff, maybe the mountains are the fit for you as opposed to being in the metro. All that stuff's further away. Not to say it can't be accessed, but it's not really a casual trip, right? You're going up there for the weekend or getting up early, coming home late. So just, it's always a balancing act between the two.
Right. One of the other things too to call out, I will say about mountain living is just the access to outdoors and like your lot space. So if you are looking, depending on what area in the mountains you decide to move to, you may have, acreage on your property. You may be able to own horses, or if you're into having different type of livestock, definitely a great option. One of the things with that too also comes wildlife. So one of the biggest things that we do see and we hear about here in the Denver metro is like bear proofing your trash, seeing bears get into, watching videos of bears getting in people's cars. Like I'm a big one of, I have a little 3-year-old, so she's always leaving her snacks in the back of the car. Something you definitely don't want to do if you're living in the mountains because bears will sniff that out. There's been a bear that got stuck in a car, images, like definitely, if you have some spare time and you're bored, definitely look that up. Those videos are always kind of funny, but it's just a reality check in terms of, if you have pets and you have
definitely
like
the pets are a
cats,
consideration.
you want to make sure that you're,
exactly.
Yeah, you want to make sure you put them inside. And then the other thing too, mountain lions are a thing as well. So definitely, something to consider if you are thinking of moving in the mountains. It does come, with its perks, but it also has that be aware of your surroundings and that you are moving where there's a lot of wildlife. So you will experience like bears getting into your stuff, mountain lions. Don't get too scared. A lot of people live up there and they do just fine, but it's just being aware of it, right? And knowing and taking precautions that are necessary.
Yeah, so basically what you're kind of picking up here from what we're saying here, more or less what you have to consider with the mountains is your day-to-day is going to be a little bit more of an inconvenience. However, the return on that is you just have so much more fun stuff around you. You also get some incredible views that frankly just don't exist in the metro. You can be in the metro, you can see the mountains, but truly the mountains are your backyard when you live out there. And that's just a different perspective, a different view. You're a lot more private up there. You don't necessarily have the houses on top of each other. A big complaint we hear in the metro, and admittedly it is the case, to where the lot sizes are just smaller. You're seeing it where, especially in the new build communities too, you kind of see this, the houses, they're close, especially even compared to other states, like they are tighter here. Versus when you get out in those mountains, you're getting these multi-acre lots. You're not seeing your neighbor sometimes, which can be good or bad. If you have little kids and you want them to make friends, maybe you like the metro and the new build community versus when you may be a little bit later in life and you want a little more privacy. Maybe the mountains fit that lifestyle better for you. So definitely, depending on your situation, the mountains could be the better choice. However, just putting out there some of the things that, we've noticed, our clients have noticed, friends and family have noticed from being out here that maybe the mountains were a bit, bit more of a drawback because of some of these issues. All right, guys, memory card ran out of space. Jumping back on here for you guys for part 2, mountain living versus metro living.
One of the things that I was actually mentioning before we got cut off was that the HOAs. So a lot of times, a lot of clients that come to Denver and look to living in the Denver metro or looking to live, amongst the Front Range, ask about HOAs. And so one of the cool things about mountain living is if you are looking like at Sierra, which is up in Golden, or you're looking to live in the newer builds, you will come across HOAs. However, if you're looking in more established neighborhoods or deeper within the mountains, there's not necessarily always HOAs. So definitely a great thing if you're looking to be able to do whatever you want with your home and being able to, put in fencing or change the colors or do any type of modifications. It's definitely a pleasant thing to, basically a pleasant way to move into the Front Range and make sure that, you're not having to submit a application fee every time you want to change the color of your deck or anything like that. So
change your fence, change your front door, something I'm not allowed to do, you know, things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So definitely gives you more freedom in the sense of where you want to put your money and if you want to reinvest in your home. Guys, I bring this up and Joe and I have talked about that we have clients. Please do remember that we are licensed realtors here in the state of Colorado, and we would love to help with any real estate needs you may have. Please leave us comments if you're seeing something on the videos that we're not talking about that you may be interested in. Please let us know. We are the ones answering all those comments, phone calls, emails, whatever the case may be.
Also something to call out, now we're thinking of clients coming to visit, the next thing I consider with the mountains is, it is a little trickier to come in and out, not only by car, but flight as well, because DIA is all the way out east, basically Aurora area. So you're driving from the mountains all the way through I-70, through Denver, over to DIA. The exception being you can hop on the airport, like I was mentioning, Eagle, take a flight from there to DIA, do a layover, and then fly out to DIA. So that's an option. But again, it's not the most convenient thing. So if you're someone who does travel a lot, maybe for work, for pleasure, whatever it may be, getting to and from that airport is not as easy as if you were to live in the metro. So that's kind of one of the other cons to the area. All
right, guys. So one of the things that we also want to talk about is pricing. So if you are looking to move to Denver and you're curious about the pricing, variation between living in the Front Range and living in the Denver metro, we do want to let you know that like the average price point in the Denver metro is like mid 600s to high 600s. So definitely something, to worth considering if you're looking to buy a single family home. And depending on your bedrooms and bathrooms and the neighborhood, right, that's where Joe and I would come in and help you kind of basically narrow down your search and narrow down what area you want to live in the Denver metro. Now, if you want to move to the mountains, it varies. If you want to live in Golden or Boulder, or if you're looking to live in Eagle, or if you're looking to live in like a smaller town that's not necessarily as popular, the prices are going to range. Obviously, if you're looking to live in Vail and a really nice home, modern home, please expect to pay more than $1 million at least, depending on what type of budget you're working with, and if you want the ski out options, or if you're looking for just like a condo, right? Pricing can vary. Versus if you're looking to live in Golden, it still might be pricey, but not necessarily as priced out in terms of like how Aspen would be. So definitely something that Joe and I would be able to help you guys with in narrowing down price point, budget, what you're looking for, and what your non-negotiables are.
Something to jump in. I've been ragging on the mountains. I'm going to defend the mountains for once now. Monique is right. You're going to find, the Vales, the Aspens. These places are definitely more expensive. However, what you can do, if you do want to be close proximity-wise, but maybe not live in Vail, for example, there's other towns surrounding it that are cheaper. Right. So like I have friends who live out in Avon, for example, and they don't necessarily have a full-size, a single-family home. However, they do have a nice, 2-bedroom condo, and that's reasonable. It's in like the 7s. So you can live in the mountains for sub $1 million, but it's not going to be a full-size single-family house like Monique's calling out, and it's not going to be in downtown Vail. So you might have to compromise a little bit to where you're living 15 minutes from the town center in more of a condo style living. But again, if you don't have kids or pets and you're really into skiing and hiking and mountain biking and all that stuff, maybe you make a condo work, and that's cool with you, because that's definitely an option. You can definitely get in for quote unquote the same pricing as the metro, but it's just going to be a little bit cut as far as the amount of space you're getting, maybe not being in that exact area, but close enough to where you can still access everything. So balance everywhere that can be found. Again, we're happy to search out whatever fits your price point and kind of the space you need. We can definitely make it work. However, general rule of thumb, the mountains are going to cost you a little bit more than the metro. In the same way that, waterfront property by the beach is going to cost you more than inland property, just because it's very desirable, very limited. So at the end of the day, you're not seeing new builds pick up in the middle of the mountains. There's just no space to build them, versus in the metro, you do still have that space to expand. So it's always going to be a toss-up. It's just your personal situation that's going to decide what's the right fit for you. All right, one more thing to call out for you guys in terms of mountain living versus metro living is the schools. Obviously a big consideration. So if you do have a family, if you do have little kids and everything, the best blend for you is going to be somewhere like Boulder, because Boulder is going to feel like mountain living. However, Boulder also happens to just have one of the top school districts here in the metro as well. So that's going to be a nice balance for you, as opposed to, as you tend to get further and further out in the mountains, you're definitely going to be further away from your local school. So when the weather conditions get a little harsher, that's just something to consider. You might not have the bus pickup that you have here in the metro, as opposed to in the metro, it's going to be super easy for the most part. Most of the schools are very well laid out to where you're 15 minutes away. They have bus access for your kiddos and everything. So that's going to just be easier. In some of these rural mountain towns, you might be driving a half hour to your local school district at least. So, just something to consider. Again, it's going to be that quality of life kind of hit as far as, you're driving, getting to be a little bit heavier, a little bit further. But again, if you don't have kids and you're cool with maybe you're a young professional, you work remote, mountains could be that perfect option for you. So just always a balance.
Guys, and as much as Joe and I love making these videos for you, we would love to help with any real estate needs you may have. Please feel free to contact us at the information on your screen, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll catch you up in the mountains. We'll catch you on the next one.